A trade war begins. Roots of the U.S.-China conflict. The U.S.-China trade war began in 2018. It marked a significant escalation in economic tensions between the world's two largest economies. The conflict was not just about trade but also about technological dominance and geopolitical influence. The Trump administration, citing concerns over unfair trade practices and intellectual property theft, imposed tariffs on billions of dollars worth of Chinese goods. These measures were intended to pressure China into changing its trade policies. These tariffs, essentially taxes on imported products, were designed to protect American industries and jobs from what the U.S. saw as unfair Chinese competition. The goal was to reduce the trade deficit and bring manufacturing jobs back to the United States. At the heart of the dispute was the growing U.S. trade deficit with China. The U.S. imported far more from China than it exported, leading to a significant imbalance that many American policymakers found unsustainable. The U.S. argued that China engaged in practices that disadvantaged American companies, such as forced technology transfer and currency manipulation. These practices were seen as giving Chinese companies an unfair advantage in the global market. China, however, maintained that its economic practices were fair and that it adhered to international trade rules. Chinese officials argued that the U.S. was trying to stifle China's economic rise and maintain its own global dominance. The stage was set for a protracted trade war that would have far-reaching consequences. Both countries began to feel the economic strain as tariffs increased costs for businesses and consumers alike. The U.S. accused China of stealing intellectual property from American companies. This included everything from software to advanced manufacturing techniques, which the U.S. claimed was costing American businesses billions of dollars. This forced technology transfer, where American businesses operating in China were pressured to share their technology, was a major point of contention. American companies felt they were being coerced into giving up their competitive edge. The U.S. also claimed that China was manipulating its currency to make its exports artificially cheap, further exacerbating the trade imbalance. This practice, known as currency manipulation, was seen as another way China was gaining an unfair advantage. The Trump administration's decision to impose tariffs marked a departure from decades of U.S. trade policy, which had generally favored free trade agreements. This shift signaled a new era of economic nationalism and protectionism. This move signaled a more protectionist stance and a willingness to use tariffs as a tool to achieve economic and political objectives. The administration believed that these measures would force China to change its trade practices. The world watched nervously as the two economic giants squared off, bracing for the impact of a full-blown trade war. The conflict had the potential to disrupt global supply chains and affect economies around the world. China responded to the U.S. tariffs with retaliatory measures of its own, marking a significant escalation in the ongoing trade conflict. It imposed tariffs on American goods, targeting key exports like soybeans, automobiles, and agricultural products, which are vital to the U.S. economy. This tit-for-tat exchange of tariffs escalated the trade war, with each side raising barriers to the other's goods, creating a cycle of retaliation. The tariffs had a significant impact on businesses and consumers in both countries, affecting everyday life and economic stability. American businesses that relied on Chinese imports faced higher costs, while Chinese businesses exporting to the U.S. market found their products less competitive, leading to financial strain. Consumers on both sides of the Pacific felt the pinch of rising prices, as the cost of goods increased due to the tariffs. As the trade war dragged on, it went beyond tariffs, encompassing a broader range of economic and political issues. The U.S. government took steps to restrict Chinese investment in sensitive sectors like technology and telecommunications, aiming to protect national interests. It blacklisted several Chinese tech companies, including Huawei, citing national security concerns, which further complicated the trade relationship. These actions further strained relations and raised concerns about decoupling between the two economies, potentially leading to a more fragmented global market. The trade war also had the unintended consequence of creating uncertainty in global markets, affecting investor confidence and market stability. Businesses became wary of making long-term investment decisions amidst the unpredictable trade environment, leading to a slowdown in economic growth. The tit-for-tat tariffs and retaliatory measures created a climate of instability, making it difficult for businesses to plan for the future and casting a shadow over global economic prospects. The US-China trade war had ripple effects throughout the global economy. As the world's two largest economies, their dispute disrupted global supply chains and created uncertainty in international markets. Countries heavily reliant on trade with either the US or China faced economic headwinds. The trade war contributed to a slowdown in global economic growth. The International Monetary Fund, or IMF, downgraded its growth forecasts, citing trade tensions as a key factor. Businesses around the world felt the impact, as decreased demand and disrupted supply chains ate into profits. The trade war also fueled protectionist sentiments in other parts of the world. As the US and China retreated from multilateral trade agreements and imposed tariffs, other countries felt emboldened to pursue their own protectionist measures. This trend towards protectionism threatened to further undermine the rules-based trading system. The uncertainty created by the trade war had a chilling effect on investment and business confidence. Companies became hesitant to make long-term commitments, fearing further escalation or sudden shifts in trade policy. This wait-and-see approach hampered economic activity and contributed to a sense of unease in the global market. The trade war's impact was not felt equally across all sectors and industries. While some sectors saw benefits, others faced significant challenges and disruptions. Some American industries, like steel and aluminum, benefited from the tariffs imposed on Chinese imports. These tariffs provided a protective shield, allowing these industries to thrive and expand. However, other sectors, such as agriculture and manufacturing, were negatively impacted by retaliatory tariffs from China. These industries faced increased costs and reduced access to crucial markets. American farmers who had come to rely on the Chinese market for exports were particularly hard hit by the trade war. The loss of this vital market led to financial strain and uncertainty for many farming communities. Chinese tariffs on soybeans, pork, and other agricultural products led to a decline in exports and a surplus of goods in the US. This surplus caused prices to drop, further hurting farmers' incomes. In response, the Trump administration provided billions of dollars in aid to farmers to offset their losses. This aid was crucial in helping farmers stay afloat during these challenging times. The trade war also had a mixed impact on the Chinese economy. While some sectors struggled, others adapted and found new opportunities. While some Chinese exporters were hurt by US tariffs, the Chinese government implemented policies to stimulate domestic demand and reduce reliance on the US market. These measures helped cushion the blow for many businesses. China also sought to strengthen trade ties with other countries. By diversifying its trade partnerships, China aimed to mitigate the impact of the trade war and secure new markets for its goods. The trade war highlighted China's long-term economic strategy of moving up the value chain and becoming a technological powerhouse. This shift was seen as essential for sustaining economic growth and competitiveness. Despite the challenges posed by the trade war, China continued to invest heavily in research and development, particularly in areas like artificial intelligence, robotics, and 5G technology. These investments were crucial for maintaining China's edge in the global market.